Hello and welcome. My name is Abra Gilman and I'm a Senior Consultant and Customer Account Manager at Collins Computing. Today we'll be going through best practices for processing 1099s within Microsoft Dynamics GP. We'll also share some tips and tricks that we've learned along the way. So just to go over a quick agenda, I'll be showing you some Collins Computing resources that are available for our customers. I will be going through the 1099 process and how it actually looks. I will show you the specific dates that are applicable to 2013 and then discussing some validation, printing, and filing techniques. I'll be showing you how to edit your data that is already within your system, either using the screens within Microsoft Dynamics GP or using the new tools that are available. I'll also be showing you the exact demonstrations of these products and even the new features that are available in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013. We'll go over some accounts payable year-end closing notes to see how that affects your 1099s, and then I have a couple bonus slides. So to get started, first I wanted to just tell you about our Collins Computing customer website that we have. It is the Dynamics GP blog, and we update it weekly with different news and tips and tricks that we have about the product. We also post any event updates or promotions that are happening within the Microsoft channel. We list our webcasts that are free to our customers and allow our customers to sign up from there. We post the expiration dates for main support, and we post our newsletters for our customers. And we also suggest that you go and look at our YouTube channel. So it's just under YouTube/user/Collins Computing, and there we will post our various webcast recordings. We will create small short videos of different how-to sections, and we've also been posting some of the changes that have come about in Microsoft Dynamics GP. So again, I encourage you to go take a look. So let me pop over to Microsoft Dynamics GP and show you a quick demonstration on how to process 1099s. So here I'm logged into Microsoft Dynamics, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open up a vendor screen. I'm going to pull up a vendor, and I'm going to change that vendor under options to be a 1099 miscellaneous vendor with the payment amounts going into the 1099 box number 7. I'll go ahead and save that vendor record, and then I'll create an invoice for that vendor. I'll create a batch ID. I'll select my vendor. I'll enter the document number and the payment amount. Now, if this was the only invoice for this vendor, it would only appear in the 1099 edit list if it were above $600, because that's the threshold. Now here it assumes that this vendor, since the invoice is $1,000, that's how much is 1099 applicable. So if it's less than that, I can go ahead and change the amount to be $800, and I can save and post this invoice. Now once that invoice is posted, I'll go ahead and create a check batch to pay that invoice, because that is when the 1099 amount is updated. I'll select a checkbook ID that I'm going to pay from, and then I'll select the vendor that I'm going to pay. Now on this vendor, it's assuming I'm going to pay the full amount, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and print the check. So I've printed the check. Now I'm going to go ahead and post it. So now that that transaction has been posted, I can go ahead and I can run the 1099 process for that vendor. I select the year that I want to run it for. I select the form type, and if I click on this printer icon on the right-hand side, it'll show me all of the vendors that have 1099 amounts above $600 for that year. And you'll see I have this vendor that I just created and paid the invoice for as one of my vendors. Now here, if I hit print, it'll go ahead and print the report in a format that will fit in the boxes within the 1099 documents. And if I go ahead and scroll down, you'll see This is the form for Bloomington County. It prints the $800 in this case in box number 7. So I'll go back to my presentation and we'll talk a little bit about the filing dates. For 2013, the filing requirement date is February 28th, and if you're filing electronically instead of paper, you have until April 1st. You can go ahead and apply for an extension, but that extension needs to be submitted prior to the due dates for those document types. When you're getting ready to process your 1099s in the system, there are a couple items that we suggest. The first is that you go ahead and look at your vendor cards. You should see that under your vendor card, under options, there's a 1099 type, and that's where I selected the miscellaneous vendor type, or I can select interest or dividend. And then I also selected where it was going to print the dollar figures. Those dollar figures are only updated after AP invoices have been paid. So the 1099s are printing the amounts that have been paid in a given year. Now, if you wanted to do a quick list of all your vendors, we suggest you could do a smart list and select a column to search to say it's not equal to not a 1099 vendor. We realize that that's a double negative, but since it is either not a 1099 vendor or miscellaneous dividend or interest, this way you're selecting all of the miscellaneous dividend and interest types. The other item that we suggest our customers do is use the user-defined number 1 field in the vendor card to hold whether they have received a W-9 from a particular vendor. Now, if you wanted to print an edit list of all of the vendors that have 1099s that will print, you would go to Tools, Routines, Purchasing, and hit the Print 1099 icon, which I will show you in the next screen. Another valuable report or inquiry screen that you can look at is the Vendor by Period by Year inquiry screen. So here's the 1099 screen that you get to by going to Tools, Routines, Purchasing, Print 1099s. And as I mentioned, you can select a given year, the form type, and then hit this printer icon, and you'll see a list of all of the vendors that have above $600 for that year. Now, when you go to print your 1099s, you do need the pre-printed forms. Microsoft Dynamics GP does not automatically print the boxes on a piece of paper. You have to have the pre-printed forms, and I've listed a couple of websites that you can get those forms through. Now, if you do have over 250 vendors, then you are required to file electronically. So we do have a couple of partners in the Microsoft channel that our customers use to produce those electronic reports. The first is Avalara, and they produce a product called AvaTax 1099. We have worked out a discount that is specific to our customers until February 25th of this year. So I encourage you to go out to this link and watch a quick 4-minute video on the product. And if you're interested, you can give us a call and we will set up the next step to purchasing the product. We also have several clients that use the Green Shades 1099 product, and we highly recommend their product also. The 1099 Pro product is not as advanced as the other two. It is not quite as automated, but we have had clients in the past that you've used that product for their 1099 filings. And then we also have a product that takes multiple company databases and merges the information so that if you need to print 1099 on paper, but you have several companies and a vendor that spans several companies, it will merge those amounts. So if you need that capability to print paper forms of 1099s, just let us know and we can give you the information on that. So what if you're getting ready to produce your 1099s and the amounts that you're seeing in these reports or edit lists are incorrect, or a vendor was not set up as a 1099 vendor to begin with? What would you do? Well, it does depend on the version that you're running of Microsoft Dynamics GP. If you're running version 9 or 8 or 7.5, then you would go ahead, go to the vendor record, select options, select to make it a 1099 vendor, and then you would go to this card. So it would be Cards Purchasing Summary, period. Pull up a vendor, pull up that it's calendar year, what the year and the month is that you have the wrong information in, and it'll allow you to just type over this amount of, let's say, $900 and create a new amount. Now that's if you're running versions 9 or older. If you're running version 10 of Microsoft Dynamics, then you would go to a different screen. In version 10, the system was enabled to allow printing in different boxes on the 1099s. So in this case, if Beaumont Construction wasn't going to be in box number 7, but it needed to be in box number 8 or another one, then you would go to Cards Purchasing 1099 Details. You would select the tax type, you would select the period, and then you would modify the amounts that are held in these boxes. So in these versions 10, 9, and previous, you aren't changing the transactions, you're just changing the summary tables that were built that hold the information that you need that prints on the 1099s. Now in version 2010 of Microsoft Dynamics GP, there was a tool that was created by Microsoft called the 1099 modifier. Now that tool is free of charge to any Microsoft Dynamics clients that are current on enhancement, and we can help you implement that module. What that will do is allow you to go ahead and modify a vendor to tell the system that it is a 1099 vendor, and then run a process so that it'll go back through any payments you have made for that year and update the summary cards to include all of those payments as 1099 applicable. So here you see the screen that clients will see when they pull up the Professional Services Tool Library. You would select 1099 modifier and hit Next. Now you would only do that after you've gone into the vendor record and modified it to be a 1099 either miscellaneous dividend or interest vendor, and you've selected the box that you want the new amounts to appear in. Then you would open up the 1099 modifier process. You would select a year. You would select whether you want to print the report only or go ahead and process the records, and you would hit process. When it's done processing, it would go ahead and list for you all the vendors that you have now changed that have 1099 amounts that are newly applicable. Now, what was just released in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 is the ability to go into a particular vendor record, go into those payment records, and tell the system, now these are or are not applicable for 1099. So in this case, I have a vendor, Beaumont Construction. I've told it to list all of my transactions that had the 1099 amounts, and I can go through and change either the type or the amount. I can also say that it's not a 1099 transaction. The other thing that you can do in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 is to go ahead and update a range of vendors all at one time. So you can choose to update just the vendor record, only its 1099 transactions, or both. So in this case, I've said I'm going to make a not a 1099 vendor now be a miscellaneous vendor. Insert that range and hit process. When it's done with that process, you will get a report like this that shows you that this vendor was updated. It's now a miscellaneous vendor, printing in box 7, and then all of its applicable invoices have now 1099 amounts. Now let me pop back into GP and show you some of these processes live. So first I'm in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2010. I'm going to go ahead to my home screen where I've actually loaded the Professional Tools Services Library, and I'm going to pull it up. So I'm going to be running the 1099 modifier. But before I actually run that, I want to go update my records that are vendors that are going to be applicable to this change. I'm going to choose a vendor. I'm going to go to Options. I'm going to make it a 1099 applicable vendor. Go ahead and send it to box 7 and hit OK. And then I'm going to just check to see. I'm going to look at that vendor for all of their records that I have in the system. So I see that I'm going to update 3 years of information. I'm going to go ahead and open my Professional Services Tool Library. I'll select to run the 1099 modifier. I'll tell the system to run for these years. And the system is just telling me that I should do backups if I'm running this on a live system, and that it's gone through and updated the years that I've selected. And when I'm done, I'll get a report of all the changes that were made. So it's affected all of these invoices. Now, in reality, I probably would only have 1 year. But now I want you to see that if I run my 1099 and I select to just send the edit list first, you'll see that this new vendor, Circuit Distributing, is now on the list. And then if I wanted to print 1099s, I could do that. So this is within version 2010. And here's the record. Now, I could also, for a particular vendor, if I did just want to update the amount that is reporting, I could change it here. But that does not go back through history and change any of the transactions or the amount that was saved on the transactions. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how it works in GP 2013. I'm here on the purchasing screen in 2013. If I say Edit 1099 Transaction Information, I could pull up a particular vendor. I could see all of my 1099 transactions, or if I had other transactions, I could see those, or my credit transactions, and I can actually change and tell the system that maybe particular invoices were not 1099 applicable, or that I wanted to change the amount that was applicable. So in this case it was $300. In this case, instead of the full $6,800, maybe it was only $6,500 applicable. When I go ahead and hit Process and hit OK, it'll give me the printout. So here's the report that shows up when you go ahead and modify the transactions. Now the other thing that you can do in 2013 is to go and update an entire vendor and their transactions at the same time. So I can choose that a vendor that was not a 1099 vendor is now going to be a 1099 vendor, and I can choose which kind again. And I can select one or multiple vendors. So in this case, I could have also chosen a vendor class, just so you know. I'm going to go ahead and select these vendors. And you'll see that my report will show each of these vendors and the applicable transactions that were changed all at once. So if you had a vendor class that you thought, oh, I just need to put a particular vendor class together and I didn't set the actual vendors to be 1099 vendors, then here's a very easy way that you can update all of them in GP 2013. So let's pop back over to our presentation. So for accounts payable year-end closing, there are two options. You can choose to close a calendar year or a fiscal year. So if you close the calendar year, then the amounts that are in the 1099 fields will be the ones that move from year to date to last year, and then the life to date will keep adding up. If you choose to close a fiscal year, that is when the rest of the fields move over to last year. So here's the screen that comes up when you go to Tools, Routines, Purchasing, Year-End Close. And it would ask you, do you want to close your fiscal year, calendar year, or both, or what they say all. And if you pull up the screen but you want to save the report to a PDF, in any versions prior to 2013, you need to have the printer selected as your default before you go ahead and say Close Year. So you do that, hit Close Year, and as long as you have a PDF writer installed, you'll get the report of the year-end closing. But in 2013, you now have the option, if you say Close Year and then you realize you want to send it to a PDF writer or another printer, you can do that at that time. And then here's the screen that shows for accounts payable the fields that are moved over. So for 1099 amounts, you have year to date and it goes to last year just for calendar year end closing. And for fiscal year end, it would be the rest of the fields. So amount billed, amount paid, withholding, and the rest. And the two last things I wanted to mention is that we definitely love our clients to go with us to Convergence. We put together Collins customer events, dinners and lunches, and we also schedule time with them to go through the expo and to attend sessions with them. So we would love to have you go ahead and sign up for Microsoft Convergence and let us know that you're going, so we'll be sure to invite you to our events. And lastly, I just wanted to plug a couple of the upcoming webcasts that we have for our clients. And you could go ahead and email our customer representative, Annalisa, to get signed up for those. Or you can go out to our Collins Computing GP blog. So if you just went into Bing and typed that, or if you copied the address from the beginning of the slide, you could go ahead and sign up for any of these webcasts that we've got coming up. And I'd like to thank you for attending. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself, Abra Gilman, at collinscomputing.com, or to contact our support department, and they'd be sure to help you out. Thanks, and I hope to see you next time.